nobody is coming to save us, but all we've ever asked for is honest leadership and rule of law, a respect for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We're looking for an honest leader who can use the country's resources for the good of the people. And when Trump was inaugurated, he said, we're not merely transferring power from one party to the other. We're giving the power back to the people. And I think it was a very, very powerful inauguration speech. And you'll recall that Hillary Clinton, apparently at one point, in a fit of rage and fear, when she felt he might actually win the election, said, if that bastard wins, we'll all be hanging from nooses. So my question for you, Bix, is, although we've been told nobody's coming to save us, is Trump just simply the lesser of two evils here, or is he actually one of the good guys?
Oh, he is. He has been put there by the good guys, as I call them, the good guys. But the good guys are us. That's the other thing we need to remember. I think it was Chris Duane who coined the phrase, no one's coming to save us. We're saving ourselves, and Trump is one of us. Trump was put there to be a bull in a china shop. That's exactly what he's doing. I have long said that I wanted Ron Paul in there, probably in his younger days, but he just wasn't that bull in a china shop we needed to get rid of the deep state and the bad guys.
Dubious of that. My research indicates it probably was not a plane, it was more likely a missile. And Q said some other sort of things in that Q&A that I didn't agree with, including that NASA actually did get men to the moon and back safely. Your thoughts on those two items?
Well, yeah, it did look like a missile. Those guys in the little tin can went up. The secret space program is alive and well, and it's been alive and well since the 30s and 40s.
Well, actually, in defense of you and Q, I believe he did make mention of non-public space programs, non-public facing space programs. So you might be right about that.
Well, I have night vision goggles. I can see them flying up there almost every night of the week. So anybody who tries to argue with me that we don't have advanced technology up in the skies, I'd invite them over for dinner. We'll go outside and I'll show them.
I wonder if the NASA theater that took place during the Apollo missions was just that, theater for the American people, while the real missions were taking place behind the scenes.
Existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
But your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
Well, Bix, we don't have to get tied up on that. It's a very big topic, and then you get the people talking about flat Earth that want to piggyback in on that conversation as well.
But I think it's important to our cause to really kind of discuss the fact that if the good guys do win, we're going to see the release of some hidden technologies that will greatly increase our ability to survive on planet Earth. And I think that is a gigantic thing moving forward.
Well, I hope so. Catherine Austin Fitts talks about the breakaway civilization. I think she's right. This cabal probably has access to technologies that they wanted to hoard for themselves. They wanted to implement the Georgia Guidestone Plan to reduce the human population to 500 million, living in harmony and balance with nature. And they wanted to have the planet for themselves. And my hope is that if Trump and the White Knights can throw these people in prison and release these technologies to the people, we can green the planet anyway. I've often said, and you know this, Bix, if we had benevolent dictators instead of the malevolent ones we currently have, the planet could be an Eden. I mean, I really believe that. There's plenty for all. The problem is that these bankers, since day one, have hoarded everything. The gold, the silver, everybody owes them the debt. The whole debt of the world is owed to these international bankers. And now they want to give us Agenda 21 and take away even our most basic forms of energy. And if they don't give us new technologies to replace those, we're literally dead.
Well, that's where I wanted this discussion to go, because in my mind, I think the good guys will win. So what does that mean for the UN Agenda 21, or they call it SDG now, Sustainable Development Goals? What does that mean if the good guys are going to be in charge of those programs? Because everybody agrees that the programs are unattainable. And so there are people out there, many people, and I've heard many people you've interviewed say, "Oh my God, this is a dark agenda. They're going to destroy us. They're going to take away our homes. They got to limit the population by 90%." That is the mindset of the bad guys implementing these goals. The mindset, if the good guys win and we release the free energy, the flying cars, the secret space program, weather control, all the things, the tools that the bad guys use, if they get taken out and those are in the hands of the good guys, you can look at this list of 17 things that the UN wants to do: no poverty, no hunger, clean water, all that stuff, and you can say, "Oh my God, these are absolutely obtainable goals for all 7 billion in humanity if we release these hidden technologies." That's where I think we're going, and that's kind of, this is a new thing to me diving into the Agenda 21. I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, Bix, that's bullshit. You know, you're saying the Fed's on the side of the good guys too. You've gone crazy." The reality is, it depends on your perspective and who's running these programs. And I think we are at that point. If the good guys win, all these technologies are released to humanity. We will have the free energy that Tesla was working on back in the 1800s, anti-gravity stuff, the weather control for the good of humanity instead of destroying humanity. All these things are potentially available if the good guys win. That's why this fight that Trump is in the middle of, and the people behind Trump are in the middle, is so important for humanity, because we can take the Agenda 21 issues, all 17 of them, and we can actually implement them without killing off the population, without destroying the lifestyle of everybody. But free energy fixes like 10 of these goals right away. So that's what I wanted to talk about, and it also links into what I have learned from the latest Litecoin summit, which was really interesting.
All right. Well, and guys, you know, as many of you know, Tesla was working, and I'm not talking about Elon Musk Tesla. I'm talking about Nikola Tesla. He was working on, and in fact, probably one of the greatest scientific minds in the history of the world, was working on ways to pull energy, electricity, from the air. So the powers that be caught wind of that. They didn't want that. They wanted to put up transmission lines so they could charge you for the energy you need to survive, and that's exactly what they did. And you're right, Bix, just Tesla's inventions alone are probably enough to green the planet. I wanted to ask you about Bitcoin and Litecoin. So this is a good segue here. You just mentioned Litecoin, the Litecoin Summit. You've been speaking with Cliff High more recently than I have, of course. And I wanted to ask you about Bitcoin because I'm a little puzzled. Everybody seems to have gone a little bit radio silent on these $100,000 Bitcoin parties that I heard so much about. Where are we on Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin being manipulated lower? And when will that manipulation end?
Yes, well, all the cryptos are moving into the old system of manipulation. One of the biggest manipulators in the old system, gold, silver, and the stock market, is a company called Virtu Financial. Guy Vincent Viola ran it, who ran the NASDAQ while Bernie Madoff was running the NYSE, I think it was. But yeah, they've moved into cryptos. There's massive manipulation. The crypto people are trying to fight the rehypothecation and manipulation of cryptos by creating decentralized exchanges, peer-to-peer transactions like Veritasium can do. So there is a battle going on. As far as the $100,000 parties in Cliff High's data, I just talked to him literally an hour ago. And we did talk about what happened to the cryptos from the beginning of manipulation, which was in October of last year. That's the way these guys manipulate. They'll drive it up to get the weak hands, and then they'll drive you down until you can't take it anymore. But Cliff says his data is still on for big moves September, October, November, end of September, which we are now. He says what has happened is that the data from his data has shifted since from July on forward, so 3 months, and now we should start seeing a run up in the cryptos. Whether or not it is true, I don't think the future is set in stone for anything, but I can tell you that over the course of the year, although the price of cryptos has gone down, it's pretty, well, at least Bitcoin's pretty much where it was a year ago. And I think the artificial rise up and the artificial rise, squish down was a sentiment destroyer, just like they did in silver. So, I think both of those, silver and the cryptos, are looking at freedom as soon as the good guys finish taking out the bad guys.
Well, I want to remind people of this too, Bix, just in support of the idea that someday Bitcoin could go back to 20,000 or even much, much, much higher. The point I want to make is that when Amazon went public, remember the internet bubble, Amazon went public and it zoomed north of 100. I don't remember how high it went. It was said to be in a bubble. And then in the internet crash, it literally crashed all the way back down to $5 a share. And now look at it today. See, that's what they love to do. Those Wall Street criminals love to ruin sentiment and destroy stock prices to the point where they get in so cheap it's unimaginable because they know exactly where they're going to take it. And I wonder if that's not what they've been doing with Bitcoin.
Well, absolutely. They make money going up, then they'll short it. They'll make money going down, and then they'll buy it back. They're doing it to pot stocks right now. I mean, this is the game that goes on in gold and silver. See, where we are right now is we're at the end of that latest manipulation. A really interesting thing happened at the Litecoin summit that I was just at. At the very end of it, it was the very last roundtable. Charlie Lee was there, who's the inventor of Litecoin. The UN came up. The United Nations came up with, and they're part of the Sustainable Development Goals, and gave Charlie and the Litecoin Foundation a plaque with the 17 sustainable goals. This is Agenda 21, just like we've been talking about, at the end of the Litecoin summit. To me, what does that say? There is a plan afoot to use Litecoin as a means of exchange to buy your cup of coffee globally. And because everybody was freaking out, oh my God, the UN, and that's why I dug into, well, what are these goals, and are they attainable? Or if they aren't attainable, yeah, you're right, the bad guys, it's a horrific thing. If they are attainable with the release of new technologies, it is just shining a light, and Litecoin will be the holy grail of any cryptocurrency. The reason it was created is for peer-to-peer cash system. Something to buy your coffee with when the bankers go down, and that's what Satoshi invented. And they're using the combination of Bitcoin and Litecoin with atomic swaps, which means you can substitute Bitcoin, you can pay in Bitcoin and get change in Litecoin. And Bitcoin doesn't want to be that means of exchange. They want to be a store of value, but they do want, the world needs a means of exchange, and that's going to be Litecoin. Crazy stuff, but yeah, the UN literally was presenting at the very end of the Litecoin conference, which makes sense because it also makes sense why Charlie Lee sold off all his Litecoin. You can't have a centralized point of contact for a global form of money that everybody's going to use. It's crazy.
Well, that's sort of alarming. I don't know that we want the United Nations anywhere near Litecoin, Bitcoin, or anything else. It's sort of a red flag, isn't it?
No, not at all. See, here's the problem, and it's got to do with the conspiracy side. And I know that conspiracy people don't like to think that they are missing a bigger picture, but the UN is 197 nations that got together. There's 40,000 people that work for them. Yes, they've been controlled. The ultimate goal in the background has been the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. But we've already said we're taking those people out. We're taking those people out so that these goals, the 17 goals that they are stating, if they're put in the hands of the good guys, the benevolent dictator, like you said, oh my God, the whole world changes. So we have to get our minds in the state. If we really believe that the good guys are going to win this fight, what's the world going to look like after that? And that's where I think the real power of even the conspiracy guys must admit, if we take out these bad guys, it opens up so much for humanity. And saying that the UN is evil because the Agenda 21 stuff can't be obtained, so they're going to have to decrease the population, is missing the whole part of the good guys are going to win this battle and take out maybe a couple dozen or maybe 100 of the bad guys at the UN when there's 40,000 people who work for the UN and 197 nations around the world. So it really is. It's going to take a lot for a lot of people who've been stuck in this fear paradigm for a long time, and they weren't wrong. It's just that the good guys are going to take out the bad guys.
You know what I like about you, Bix? We've known each other for a long time now, and it's this. We're not avowed pessimists, and we like to see the cup as half full. I think we have for a long time. And, the whole reason I started my YouTube channel and my website was to expose the criminality so that we could wake up our neighbors, friends, colleagues, our fellow Americans to the fact that our country is being hijacked by criminals. And as long as we can become aware of that, and turn the justice system around on them, we could take it back, we could save our republic. And I know that seemed impossible. We had Bush, we had